Well, thank you for coming out, and I see it as a small crowd, but we'll get through all this with you guys, and I do appreciate that you came out this morning, and it just opens the door for more questions and more one-on-one time with you, so. My name is Kathy Hutter. I am the operations manager here at Winnebago County Solid Waste. So I run the transfer station and the yard waste program, review tonnages and tickets along with our staff here and put together our monthly report for our signing municipalities. We also call you rugs. Hope you don't mind. With this meeting, this annual financial meeting, we do an operations report summary, a recycling report summary. I'll go through the financials for our MRF and the program for Winnebago County, and I guess what financials, what money will come back to our municipalities, which is always the big question. And then I've invited Jessica to present on education programs, so she'll have about a 45-minute, half-hour, 45-minute presentation, very colorful and beautiful. Mine will be more words, but she'll follow up with that, keep you all awake for the second half of the meeting, and then feel free to ask questions at any point along the way. Okay. Okay. Operations report. It was a good year, 2022. Can't see, we lost the screen. There it is. Okay, next slide. As many of you probably are aware, we have stationary compactors in our transfer station, and those are used to load waste and recyclables into semi-trailers. Those waste materials are then shipped off to Outagamie Northeast landfill and Brown County South landfill. The recycling is shipped to our Tri-County recycling facility, which is owned by Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago counties. Our contracted hauler is Best Enterprises. They're doing a fantastic job of moving that material. We've had very few issues with them. They keep their equipment clean, looking nice, and running efficiently, which helps us run efficiently as well. So for 2022, our tonnage through the transfer station for municipal solid waste was 108,745 tons. The number of semi-trailer loads that were shipped was 3,748. That's equivalent to 29.01 tons per load. 51% of that material went up to Outagamie County's landfill and 49% went to Brown County. Our goal was to do about 50-50, and we got pretty close to the goal. On the single stream recycling side, the other half of the transfer station, we shipped out 11,395 tons. That was equivalent to 562 semi-loads, and the average tons per load was 20.28. I'm going to apologize. I have braces, so I'll be trying to enunciate a little bit better, but please be patient with me if I start to stutter here. The Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago County Partnership landfill operations have been in place for quite some time now. First of all, we run our landfills and transfer stations as enterprise funds, and those are supported by our tipping fees. Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago County, the BOW Cooperative Partnership began in 2003 for a cost savings to communities, businesses, and residents. There was a study that was done, I believe in 2019, and the study showed that over $46 million in tipping fees. There was a savings to our communities of over $46 million in tipping fees between that 2003 and 2018 timeframe. You ask people on the street, well, what are your tipping fees right now? Our gate rate is $52 a ton. Waste management down the road is closer to $90 a ton. So we really are, competitive in this business, and we are passing that savings on to all of our users, including our communities. The good news is this agreement has been extended until December 31st of 2042. Gives us quite a bit of landfill airspace. It's gives us a stabilized source to go with our material, and so we'll continue to look into infrastructure for future years, but for the time being, we have a pretty good plan in place for the next several years. Brown County has that new landfill going. They completed construction of their south landfill in December of 2021. So in 2022, we had to move our transfer station materials split between both landfills to make sure that Brown County made their deadline for establishing a regulatory protective layer. It's called a fluff layer. It's just good residential trash. So that's why we were scrambling, or making sure that you got as much of your residential trash through our system as possible, so that we could set Brown County up well for future years, making sure that they had a protective layer over their liner, and didn't have to do unnecessary repairs down the road. It's also mandated by the DNR, so we wanted to make sure that they could get that layer in place by the end of year 2022. That was done successfully. So in 23 and 24, our fill sequences will continue as planned for Brown and Outagamie counties. Outside of our road weight limitations, Brown County will be our primary destination for landfill materials during this time frame. And that is because Outagamie is getting to the top of their landfill. It gets more and more difficult to get traffic in and out of that landfill, get trucks turned around, et cetera, et cetera. But the good news is 2024 construction starts on a new cell at Outagamie, their northwest landfill, it'll be called. And waste placement is planned to begin in there January 1st of 2025. So at that point, we're going to need your residential material kind of segregated again. We're going to try to get as much as we can into the Outagamie landfill then, to make sure that they can get that fluff layer installed by the end of 2025. So tonnage going to the landfills. I have 2021 up here just for comparison. Winnebago County was responsible for 122,896 tons in 2021, and in 2022 was 128,884 tons. You can see for total tonnage going into a landfill for all three counties, 21 was 785,948, and 22 was 841,560. So there was an increase in tonnage. At this point, I'm not sure exactly what caused that. There's always changes in the markets. Sometimes the private landfills will start to push customers away. Sometimes we bring in special waste customers to help our communities, help businesses within our communities. So that can vary year to year, but it definitely is a growth. Landfilling grows with population growth as well too. So I don't have those numbers, but there's a number of factors that can potentially feed into that. Recycling. The Tri-County Single Stream Recycling Facility is located in Appleton. It is a material recovery facility, also known as a MRF. Most of the time we say MRF. It is co-owned by the Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago County governments and operated by Outagamie County. It also functions as an enterprise fund supported by our tipping fees to cover processing costs. And then we do have the sale of recycled materials, and that's where you guys get ahead in your programs, is because the sale of those materials, we share that with our communities, with our municipalities. The most significant challenges at the MRF continues to be labor shortages and contamination. Plastic bags continues to be a top contaminant in there, but we do have some that are starting to show up in screens and in our new technology that we're putting in. So you'll see Jessica will touch on some of those other concerns. For recycling operations, 2022 capital projects, we put in some movers in the MRF, updated the production lights for more efficient lighting, replaced concrete on the tipping floor that was breaking apart, completed a maintenance shop so they aren't working through, there was forklift traffic that the maintenance shop was right next to, and they were always running into sharing the same space. It became a hazard. We also started work on a glass cleanup system to improve that material. Budgeted 2.5 million for capital projects in 2022, and there was no additional debt service. So we were able to fund that without taking out any kinds of loans or anything. 2023 capital projects are a little more exciting, and that's what I have pictures of down below. Just wanted to go over what we have already done and what we have going in later in the year. First of all, first picture on the bottom with the red equipment there is a baler. So we replaced a baler, the original baler in the MRF. So it was quite old and obsolete. It was difficult getting parts for it. So we decided to go ahead and replace that baler, and it's doing very well. We also installed a glass cleanup system, which is the middle picture there. A number of different chutes and processing elements to that. It actually breaks the material down into 3 different products now that are more marketable, and they're actually cleaner too. So we're still working out some bugs in that system, but hope to have that running full speed in just a few weeks here. And then we replaced cardboard disc screens and walking floors. Those are normal annual replacements. We also relined the other baler that we have, the cardboard baler. The budget for all that work was 1.7 million. In addition to this work, we also have a robotics project on slate for 1.35 million. And that's the last picture there. That's an AMPS robotic sorter. Plan is to install robotics to sort on our container and residual lines. Because of the staffing issues, we're down quite a bit in staffing, and we really need to try to think forward, think of the future. Not a job that everybody wants. So robotics seem to be the best solution at the current moment. We already received a $150,000 grant for this robotics project. That was from the recycling partnership. And we are waiting to hear back from the EPA on a $1.2 million grant application. If we receive that second grant, the project will be completed with no additional funding through the MRF. So it'll be covered completely by grants. That's the goal. If it isn't covered completely by grants, we still have money in reserve, revenues that we've earned in the counties that earned in previous years that we put into funding capital projects. So we will have all of these projects completed with no additional debt service. Our tonnages for 2021 and 22 are there. You can see the picture we have here is actually our MRF, our sorting lines. That was when it was fully staffed. It does not look like that right now. The equipment does what it's supposed to do, but there's still, a need to have a QC at the end of this process. So 2021 tonnages, well, Winnebago County was responsible for sending 12,533 tons through the MRF. 2022, we sent 11,933 tons through the MRF. Total processed 109,505 in 21, 107,322 in 2022. So it's right around target. We usually try to go for about 100,000 tons a year. There's material that comes in what we call from our MRF shed, from outside of our MRF shed. Our MRF shed is basically northeast Wisconsin, but we've seen material come in from Sheboygan, from like Stevens Point area, from northern Wisconsin. Really depends on what the market is and what the availability is for processing in other parts of the state. But the core of our program is our residential tonnage, and I just wanted to back to the recycling. We don't need to move slides, but the core of our program is about 50% residential. That's contracted through our counties. That's why we rely on you to get our material to us, because we're depending on that good material coming through our system to keep our facility well supplied. Other waste diversion programs provided here at Winnebago County Solid Waste. Brush and yard waste recycling happens here. We grind the brush and yard waste down, and we ship it off to UW Oshkosh for their biodigester. It helps improve their feedstock, and they get a better quality methane produced by adding our woody material. 2021, we shipped out 1,624 tons to them. 2022, we shipped out 1,752 tons. Our electronics recycling program, the vendor we have contracted with is Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations. They're out of Alaska. This material is banned from landfill disposal, of course. So in 2021, we had 264,364 pounds, and 2022, we had 202,244 pounds. I think we're finally getting the CRT, the big heavy TVs out. The DNR said this is going to happen, and we've been waiting for this to happen for years, and I think it's finally starting to happen. I see a lot of smaller, lightweight, flat screen TVs coming through, still some big ones, but you can definitely see it in the weights. That material is getting lighter. Appliance recycling, our vendors, B&B Metals out of Plymouth, Wisconsin. Tonnage is pretty close to what it normally is. 2021, we had 127 tons, 2022, 149 tons. Tire recycling vendor we use is Liberty Tire out of Auburndale. There aren't a lot of tire recyclers out there in the state, so it's kind of a struggle if we put something out for bid for tire recycling. Typically, we only hear back from 1 or 2 vendors providing that service, and you've seen that with tipping fees. If you bring tires to us, tipping fees have increased quite a bit over the last couple of years, and some of it is market control, I think, by the vendor, but you know, we need to cover our costs, and so that's why we've had to step up those fees. Tire recycling, 2021, 110 tons, 2022, 117 tons. And then finally lamps, which are your light bulbs. The vendor we use is Lamp Recyclers out of DePere. In 2021, we recycled 5,971 light bulbs, and 2022 is 5,786, and that's been pretty consistent through the years as well. And I'm sure you're all aware, household hazardous materials facility that we have. We just had a collection yesterday. It's basically every other Wednesday and Saturday throughout May through October. It is staffed by Veolia Environmental Services. They've been really good to work with in the last couple of years, and they do all of the collecting, they do all of the sorting, they do the shipping, and they do the disposal of that material. So it's an all-in-one package. And 2021, we had 24 days of operation with our facility, 813 users, 45,999 pounds collected, and 2,142 pounds were placed in the product exchange room. 2022, I backed it down to 22 days of operation. There are a few days that seemed to be less used, and so they were closer to the holidays. So I ended up cutting some of those days out, but as you can see, it really didn't change operations much. It actually increased the number of users that we had and increased the weights. I don't know if that was the cause or additional marketing and advertising on that program did it, but we did see potentially our all-time high users. I say potentially because I'm not 100% confident that what the numbers prior to 2013 included. So we're not going to announce that this is our highest year ever because I'm not sure exactly how those numbers in the past were used. But we did have an increase of users. We had 46,904 pounds collected, 3,069 pounds were placed in product exchange, and we also had 2 clean sweep collection sites. One was in Winnebago County, and the other one was at Cox Crossing. So successful. One thing about the product exchange, if you're not aware of that program, if material is brought in to our collection and it's in good shape, we put it into a side room that's open to the public while the facility is staffed, while that hazardous waste facility is staffed. So members of the public will come in, they'll do quote unquote shopping for free products. So you can pick up paint or bleach or, pesticides or, herbicides for your lawn. Again, it's up to the Veolia staff to deem what appears to be good, what doesn't appear. And of course, there's a waiver that, hey, we don't know exactly that this is exactly what's labeled on this product. So there's a little risk that comes with it, but it does help us get material back out that doesn't necessarily have to be disposed of and gets that material used up. It's also high demand. During COVID, I had it shut down and boy, I heard about it. So we did bring it back and the regulars that we have coming out to use it are happy it's back and continue to ask for more material out there on the shelves.
So you're not overstocked with material?
Not right now. In the fall we may be, but no, it's regularly picked up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on operations? We can move on to recycling. Okay, recycling law and RUs. This I put together last year. I think we had some new leadership with our municipalities. It's a summary of basically what the recycling, what the DNR expects, what the recycling laws are. So some of you will be very familiar with it, some of you that maybe not so much, but I thought it was a good summary nonetheless. So in 1990, Wisconsin recycling law was set that banned disposal or incineration of certain recyclables. It's chapter 287, if you wanted to read the statutes. Chapter 287 also required every municipality in the state to operate a recycling program to manage those materials. The local units of government, which are the municipalities, also known as responsible units by the DNR, implement and enforce municipal recycling programs. So that's why when we call you RUGs, it starts out with responsible unit, and then we add our government. So. And then Winnebago County's RUs are the individual cities, villages, and towns within the county. So our setup is not, the county is not the RU. Some counties are RUs, like Outagamie County is an RU. They still have, I believe, City of Appleton, maybe it's, I think that one is its own RU. It's slightly different, but I know Outagamie County manages all their smaller communities as one RU. With our recycling agreement, 16 of Winnebago County RUs are partnered with our solid waste management board through a municipal recycling agreement. I also refer to this as a signing municipal agreement or signing municipalities. This was developed in 1993 with multiple extensions to 2024. If you try to read this document right now, you get really confused because it started out in 93 when we were running a sorting facility across the street and it was commingled and it wasn't commingled and then it was commingled and it just transpired from there without actually getting a full revise of that document. But in this original document and through its extensions, our signing municipalities pledge recycling tonnages to support our county's efforts to recover and process recyclables. And the county pledges capital funding for infrastructure, management of the universal waste recycling program. So those yard waste, tires, auto batteries, used oil, a lot of the miscellaneous programs that we have on this side of the street. Several of those are the universal waste, but we are offering them here at our facility to make sure that the smaller communities and any of your communities would have an outlet, would say, hey, you live in Amo, go ahead and you can take that material. We can't accept it here in Amo, but you can take it to Winnebago County. So we want to make sure that there's a somewhat local outlet for your residents. The county also pledges consolidated education effort, and that is so that you assigning municipalities can receive additional grant funds. We provide our use with a consistent outlet for processing recyclable materials at the MRF. It has stabilized your processing costs over the long term and has a generous revenue sharing arrangement. I did a little research on how much money we've given back through this recycling program, how much we've given back to our communities, and through the years, 4.2 million has been refunded to our municipalities since 2005. Based on your tonnages, so the communities that have a higher tonnages obviously receive a higher portion of that. But I thought that that was a eyebrow raising number. It works, and I think that shows it right there. So just as a heads up to the signing municipal agreement that is the next extension expiring at the end of 2024. This document will be up for review. We'll be developing an extension on the schedule for late 2023 through mid 24. So whether it's a revised document or another extension, I'm not sure where that will sit, but it's something that we will have to take a closer look at, and we'll of course have conversations with our communities as we do look into that document and start to revise that document. Okay. So as I mentioned, we do share revenues with our municipalities, and we do that through the MRF. Our recycled materials are sorted, baled, and sold through the MRF on commodity markets so that local manufacturers and manufacturers in the Midwest typically can use that as feedstock for producing new products. Material values can change dramatically with market fluctuations. Commodity market. So 1 month is maybe, cardboard maybe worth $45 a ton, the next month it may be worth $60 a ton, the next month maybe $30 a ton. So We always try to sell above what the market is. We're always looking for the best price on our material, but sometimes we fall within that market range, and then our value fluctuates quite a bit. So prior to 2021, you probably remember me speaking about China National Sword. Basically, exported materials were banned from China no longer received them. All of a sudden it flooded back into our domestic markets. All values domestically went down on the East Coast, on the West Coast. They were landfilling paper and cardboard because there was no market for that. We did not experience that during China National Sword. But in the process of explaining that and how the United States was looking at their market and their infrastructure, the government decided to start, and some of these nonprofits started to put more money into infrastructure, saying, how can we build a stronger recycling economy in the United States? So the promise was put out there. It took a couple of years to catch up, and finally in 2021, we did notice that domestic infrastructure caught up to the recycled material that we as a nation produce, and demand and prices increased in 2021 and through mid 2022. So as you recall, last year, a significant amount of money was really funded back to our communities, because we didn't get, and I'm looking at my paperwork here to see if I have it, but our communities did get quite a bit returned to them because markets were really strong in 2021. However, in mid 2022, all of a sudden the paper and cardboard markets crashed. We have never experienced here in the Tri-County region. We are in the paper valley. There's always been a demand for our paper and our recycled paper and our recycled cardboard. There's always been a high demand for that material. And I can tell you, last summer, I was shocked to learn that suddenly we didn't have outlets for some of this material, and we had to store it. So if you think about paper and cardboard being about 60% of inbound tonnages, trying to find storage for semi-loads of material, like semi-loads, several semi-loads every day is what we produce. Trying to find storage on site for that, trying to make sure we can maintain quality of that, so it can be used as a recycled material down the road, was very startling, and we shifted into high gear to try to find other markets and to try to figure out how to store that material. Good news is we were able to find outlets for it. We were able to move it successfully. We did not landfill any of that material. The bad news is the pricing went way down. Well, suddenly the demand isn't there, pricing goes down. That's 60% of our composite ton. So as you can see here, I did a comparison, historic commodity market values for our composite ton. When I speak of the composite ton, I speak of the value of, we took a ton of everything that came in the door combined, like the aluminum percentage, the glass percentage, the cardboard percentage, the paper percentage, and looked at all their different values and then percents, and came up with the number of what a 1 ton of the material that comes through our door is worth. And you can see it fluctuated quite a bit, 2018, 2019, where we were dealing with China National Sword, coming back out of that in 2020. 2021 was that banner year. Value of plastics and cardboard went way up. 2022 started out really great, but it ended up sliding through the end of the year. So it's down a little bit in this comparison. I think it's when we went into 2023, it's much lower than that. So you don't see the bottom here in 2022. You're seeing the high end, the influence of high end on this, because at the end of the year, it was closer to $40 per ton for the composite ton. So yesterday when I presented this to our solid waste management board, there was a question about fluctuation, and yes, markets do fluctuate. They go down, they come up, they go down, they come up. I looked at the average index value for our composite ton through 2013 to the current month, and the average index value was $80.36. So we're below that right now, but you can see how, we have been above that leading into this year. Currently, through the first 5 months, the average is $58 a ton for materials. not overly concerned, but at the same time, you know, we benefit when our markets are high. And so as far as, your tipping fees won't change, I don't think your tipping fees will change, but, the amount of money that we get back, of course, changes because we're not making money off the material. So if you could pull up the financial slide, Cassie, please.
What's your break even number on that, like around the $80 a ton, do you think, or?
It's close to where we are right now,
Okay,
so let me just see.
with the rates.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and maybe I could come up with a better
No, I'm
answer.
just curious, like,
I always look at a break-even point is if our program receives 500,000 tons back through Winnebago County. If we receive $500,000 back, then I can give your $5 per ton back. And I consider that the break even, because then your cost is about zero for processing and marketing of that material. So that's how I look at it. You can see in the budget for 2022, I put the 500,000 as revenue. We were hopeful we would get to that point, and we did end up getting pretty close to that point. The top of the page here, I have summarized our municipal revenue per ton, our municipal expense per ton on the left. The 477 is your surplus for 2022. Your tonnage summary is to the right of that, signing municipalities. Your material through this facility, or through our program, I should say, was 11,553. Our county material is commercial. It's like waste management, DFL, the big haulers, and that was 2,830. So our program in total was about 14,383 contributed into the BOW system. The revenues, commodity revenues, I planned for about 500,000. We ended up with, of your percent of your 11,553 tons, we made 284,393 total. We broke that apart percentage wise, 228,590 going back to the municipalities, 555,803 going into the county portion of the program. And of course, when we talk about revenues, if we're looking at the bottom line, what is our revenue, what is our expense, and the expense for this running this program of this facility. I don't consider the expense of the MRF expenses, because that's the portion the county ends up paying for. The commodity revenue is shared BOW. That's our contracted material, like GFL, waste management, the big haulers. It is not your community residential tons. And because it does not include your residential tons, I do not share that with our signing municipalities. So that's going back to the county. The 361,937 goes back to the county so that we can continue to put that into capital funding of our building here, capital funding within there. The single stream revenue tipping fees, that's at $5 per ton that I charged our communities in 2022. So I budgeted 60,000. We made 57,767, giving most of that back to the communities, 46,401. County does keep a portion of that for funding like scale operations. Cost share with our co-owning the Tri-County Recycling Facility. We have our hauling covered by the Tri-County program, and we have our compactor costs, electricity and maintenance of our compactor, recycling compactor across the street, covered by the Tri-County program. So you will see this as a revenue and an expense on these two portions. The Outagamie County account cuts us a check to make sure that we get the money back into our program to cover the cost of those. Single stream hauling, 130,000 was budgeted. We came in at 129,065. We did split the revenues and the expenses with our signing municipalities on that one. Cost share, compactor, 15,000 budgeted, 12,838 was actual, 10,000 revenue to the communities, and 2,526 to the county. And for expenses, all right, so we have labor costs built in, 220,911, Total was 193,979, so we were under budget. Travel expenses, 1,360 budgeted, and, actual is 780. The travel went up a little bit, having another person on staff here with education purposes. We do try to get Jessica out into our communities and doing presentations and whatnot. So there's a little bit more on travel expenses than in previous years. Office expenses are pretty much, standard, 4,550 budgeted, came in at 2,749. Operating expenses, 5,125 budgeted, came in at 6,634. Education advertising, that is, like your marketing outreach, advertising. 3,000 budgeted, 2,055, we get quite a bit done with that $3,000 budgeted, so I'm really happy with that amount. Certainly we can, put a little bit more into maximizing that budget too. There's been a lot of asks from our communities, hey, can you help out with this, or hey, we're struggling with this, and so, yeah, we're more than happy to help out with what we can within, of course, within reason. Repairs includes, repairs to our equipment and to our compactor. So that's one of those, that part of that expense on the repairs line is getting reimbursed on the revenue side. So we were over budget on the repairs. We did have two loaders that were getting older in age, and so we had to put more money into the loaders, that equipment. We did have some repairs to our fire suppression system also across the street, so it was a little bit higher because of that, but primarily that amount is from our compactors. Utility is pretty straightforward, 7,600 budgeted, 6,938 actual. Contracts, that includes our hauling contracts, so again, that's one of those, the largest portion of that amount came back into the system as a revenue on the hauling side of things, hauling reimbursement. The other contract, part of that is the fire suppression system, regular maintenance. So it's necessary evils of running a transfer station. Miscellaneous, 1902. Debt service, 73,000 budgeted, 72,367. That is only, expense to the county because that is the debt service on the original MRF building up in Outagamie County. So that was something that Winnebago County said, yes, we will cover the cost of building this facility in Outagamie, and we did not pass that on to our communities at all. And this is 2023 is the last year of the debt service, so you'll see it on this account one more time, and then it's gone. And because of how we've been running things, and because we've been so successful in the program that we've had to this point, I don't think it's ever going to come back. I really don't. We've found a way of operating this facility quite efficiently, and if nothing catastrophic happens, I think we've got a good operating program going. So, depreciation, 43,000 budgeted, 35,312 was actual, and that is depreciation of some of our equipment. So, bottom line, net surplus, we did come out ahead. The surplus, the total actual surplus was 330,891. The signing municipalities is based on your tonnages through the system. The counties is based on our tonnages through the system, and we have those additional commercial contracts in place that are shared between the Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago partners. So that's why you'll see the county surplus is higher, just because we do have the waste management, GFL, commercial funds that help our system out a little bit more. And there is a summary of all of the different funding, the surpluses that were refunded. At some point, we were offsetting the deficit to the county. I did not include that into the 4.2 million because we did not give that back. But in the end, what we will do for 2022 is refund a surplus of 55,135 to our communities based on the tonnages that you sent through our system here. So not huge checks, nothing like last year, but you'll be getting something back. But you basically broke even. So Do you have any questions? Concerns? Nope. I plan to put, those payment requests into the system next week, Monday, so I'm hoping that they'll be processed at the end of the month here, and you'll be seeing them in the next 2 weeks. Okay. I'm going to hand off to Jessica now.
Hey, good morning. As you can see right off the bat, I've got bright green colors, so with it being a little dreary out today, hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun to kind of wrap up the meeting. But this is just to kind of overview some of the things that we've done on our social media and education type services over the last year, and give you kind of a heads up too on some of the Tri-County programs that are upcoming this current year. So we'll see all those topics talked about social media. Primarily, we're running Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter right now. So those are our main platforms that we've been working to try and do some of that social media outreach. This, some of you may have seen in October time. I think I sent that out potentially in one of the rug letters, and we had a meeting back then. But this is a calendar that I developed just to kind of help guide some of the topics that we hit across the course of the year. It's not hard and fast, but it just kind of keeps me a little bit on track to hit some of those seasonal things, the holidays that come around, and kind of spread that out as things come up, but also then whatever hot topics come through the MRF or through our program here, then we'll highlight different services or highlight different contaminations. And there's the flexibility with that social media to target it to real-time things, but this helps just kind of see all of those topics consistently throughout the year. So Facebook update, we experienced a 4.5% growth in followers last year, bringing us to a total of 4,353 at the end of the year. You'll see some of the demographics of that primary platform, which was pretty much unchanged from 2021 demographics that I shared. So 70% women to 30% men, not surprising, but we're still trying to figure out ways to get some more men maybe interested in that recycling world. But we are hitting the right type of people. Oshkosh, Nina, Appleton is fine to be part of our followers as well. Menasha, Amaro, and Winnebago, there are some of those top percentages of our demographics, and so we're kind of right where we want to be, and hopefully we'll continue seeing growth in engagement and followers on our account there. As far as what we posted, we had 379 posts over the course of last year. So we try to get at minimum 3 a week, but I can get very excited and post something every day, which is fine, and things will hit sometimes and sometimes they won't. But just wanted to give you kind of an example of what we see on the back end from our Facebook portal. Just to give a different perspective, this top post you'll see highlighted here was our hot hitter from last summer when we had our facility fire. It reached 34,000 people, 8,300 post engagements, 370 reactions, and so forth. So that one went really hot, and then you can see some of the other ones where after the hype didn't get as much engagement. And so we just want to make sure our messaging is clear and says the right thing, so if people do come across those posts, they get enough information. But we did have over 258,000 total people view our message over the course of the year, 4,900 reactions, 25,000 engagements. So we're still trying to kind of monitor those and continue at least making that consistent from year to year and hoping to increase that. We did also do 14 paid social media ads. So part of that advertising budget is getting some of those messages out on our social media. If there's something that we really want to try and hit home and get more people than our 4,300 followers to see, we'll put $25 for a week to kind of promote that. And so we did get 81,189 additional reach from that paid advertisement, which was about a 0.5% per person. So if there's something, a really important message that needs to get out, that's a pretty cost efficient way to get some people to see it across that platform. Here's some examples of those posts. These were our top 4 most popular over the course of last year. Obviously, here's our fire, that we had some images of that incident that happened at our transfer station. Just a couple weeks later, we had another hot hitter with 30,000 reached when we advertised that product exchange room. Everyone loves free stuff, and so that definitely cleared that facility out over the course of the summer once 30,000 more people were aware of it. So again, awesome to see that education helping reduce that waste and promote our programs. The 2 on the right side there are just some, I think, interesting informational type posts that people really like, trying to make it simple and kind of catchy for them to read those messages. So again, that infographic about plastic bags, for whatever reason, 5,600 people saw it, and that comes through people sharing it on their own pages. So that was really good. But just kind of getting some bullet points of more information they might find interesting. And then one of our frequently asked questions is, what do you do with the metal lids? If they're small, if they're big, do you put them back on? Do you put them, do you not? What do you do with those? And so just highlighting some of those, maybe more niche type of education information. People have really liked those types of posts. One fun thing that we did last year as well is the week of June 17th is National Waste and Recycling Workers Week. And so we took the opportunity to get some photos of some of the people that interact with us here at the facility. These are also our MRF workers up at Outagamie County that we snagged that picture from a magazine that they took. But then we have some of our Oshkosh drivers. Rick there is over at our household hazardous materials facility. And then one of our operators at the time, just kind of saying, hey, like these are the people that work for us and help make this program run. And we're going to be scheduling those posts obviously here pretty soon. And then hopefully focusing on more of like the municipal programs that support our program and that run within the county. So if anyone has any program that they want to get more education out to the public, or that maybe is misunderstood in your area, let me know. And I'll come over, get a couple pictures, and we can highlight your program during this week as well. But just keep an eye out for those of you that do have social media. We'll be putting some of those thank yous and just highlights honoring our local waste workers in the upcoming weeks of June 17th. We also have our Instagram. I started in November of 21 and kind of launched it during my first month here. So last year was really the first year that we were full on with our Instagram. But we did get 56 new followers over the course of last year to bring us to a total of 93. So we're seeing a little bit of growth. Would still like to get some more engagement on that platform, but it's pretty easy to have it on the side. You can cross-post everything on Facebook and Instagram all at the same time, so it's not particularly much extra work. You'll see we had 256 posts. Most of them we try and post on Facebook and Instagram at the same time, but if it's a video or maybe a longer infographic, some of the formatting doesn't always work. But we like to get those on both of those. And we had 348 likes, so there is some engagement on that platform still. I just wanted to screenshot two of our fun campaigns that we also ran last year. On the left, you'll see our 12 Days of Christmas rendition for recycling. So 10 glass containers, 9 water bottles, 8 empty milk jugs all the way through. And so that was kind of a fun little spin on highlighting a variety of different items we take in a creative way. And then we also stole Elf on the Shelf and turned her into Evie, our mischievous elf, and we had to help Evie know how to properly recycle her holiday items. And so we had fun taking pictures with Christmas lights and packaging and bows and all that kind of stuff to get the message out in that fun way. We also have a Twitter. It has currently 22 followers. We did 123 tweets last year and 8,400 impressions. That platform, I think, as we all kind of know, is more business related, and haven't quite figured out the connection on how we can grow that platform yet, but still trying to use that as an alternative for different messaging. The posts that have been the most popular and got the most impressions are always posts that tag other accounts. So you'll see in this one we tagged you in the Oshkosh, the DNR, and then the communities program on the right side there. Oh, that is left. Wait, no, for you it is right. Okay, I was like, wait a minute. On the right side there, the communities of Oshkosh North High School program worked with us last summer, and they have an account, and so we were able to interact with them. And so these definitely got some more interaction, taking those other accounts, so continuing to partner with municipalities or local businesses or local organizations that interact with our programs to use this platform. Okay, then on to special projects that we run here for our facility. The first one just being the outreach and education recap. Cassie, you can go to that one. So last year we did a variety of different activities out in our community. We did have a total of 8 presentations from groups like League of Women Voters, a couple sustainability committees for our municipalities. I went to a Nina Kinder Care group, which was 2 to 4 year olds. It was fun, but the 2-year-olds definitely have that one was tricky, but it was fun to get them kind of aware of it and involved. I did a Girl Scout troop presentation, First Congregational Church and Citizens Climate Lobby was hosted at UW Oshkosh, so that was also some college students with that group. And then we had 4 community events partnering with Outagamie County, and Tri-County partners, as well as just some of the local ones. So the Fox City Kids Expo, you'll see that bottom left photo there, that's the previous Outagamie County educator, and we hosted that again. We did that again this April as well, but that's a really fun opportunity to get all age range of kids and families to come and play like recycling games and learn a little bit about that. And so we had fun doing that event for the first time, and we'll hopefully continue that in years forward. Neenah Farmers Market invited me, or the Neenah Sustainability Committee invited me to like host at the farmers market with them. So we partnered with them to do education in that capacity. And then the top photo is also our Ken Roble Conservation Park. The Girl Scout troops had an event and had like 110 Girl Scouts come and do some activities that the Girl Scout troop, the girl that kind of organized the event, put together some activities that they went through. So that was fun to just get out in the community in a few different ways. And then we also helped Outagamie County with 4 MRF tours at the end of the year. Marissa in that photo did end up leaving towards the end of last fall, and so we help out with our partners whenever they need us or able to go to those other events as well. One new thing that we tried last summer was doing a municipal recycling audit. And so we were just kind of looking to see if our municipalities are in line with our MRF average for contamination. So the MRF tends to be about 8 to 9% overall contamination of things we don't want in the MRF. And we were wondering how some of our municipalities line up. We didn't do all of them, but we just had time for a few of them over the course of last summer to kind of see what types of things our residential customers were bringing in. So we did Oshkosh. We ended up doing them 3 times to evaluate a few of their different routes. But then we figured we might as well compare them to other communities. Otherwise, that doesn't mean a whole lot. So then we pulled Neenah, Menasha, and Algoma as well towards the end of that summer fall area. So you'll just see an example on the right there of what Oshkosh's report looked like. I also did send those out to the other municipalities, so I'm not putting any priority or shade on Oshkosh, but just wanted to kind of see some of the things that we learned from that report. As you can see in Oshkosh's, their contamination averaged about 13.35%. So we just pulled a representative sample, about half a bucket of that load, and kind of looked at the things in a quarter ton or so. But a lot of that, the primary contamination was just regular trash. So bags of food or like party material, just household packaging, whatever kind of stuff in the recycling. So that's just a primary issue of maybe space or frequency or things like that, or just educating, hey, this isn't, check it when you put it out. People might just stop by and throw trash in your bin or whatever. But so that one, hopefully we can address and just continue getting that education of the importance of the clean recycling stream. But then their second top contamination was rigid plastics, which would be 5-gallon buckets, laundry baskets, any of that larger type plastic, which we do not want, except curbside, just because of the size, can cause issues at our MRF, can being those large items are not curbside recyclable. So some of those there, the top contaminants then were that trash. Plastic plant pots are a big one that we're gonna see around this time of the year, so we do not want those in the recycling stream as well. Fast food cups is a continual one. We don't take any type of plastic, any material cup currently. And then plastic bags and films and diapers, actually listed on Oshkosh's top contaminant by number of items, and so that one was fun. Yeah, and then so for Neenah, do you guys know if you use that data at all, or I think that
I
is.
remember receiving it.
Okay.
Yeah, and our office manager had it. I think she might have put something on Facebook about what our top ones were.
Cool. Yeah, so hopefully, if we ever pick that up again, just wondering, what impact that and benefit that has to our communities, to put for those projects, but it kind of at least highlighted a snapshot in time of where our programs are. Maybe a few years down the line, we can always reevaluate that too, or if you're needing any specific data for that. So there's just a picture of what that looked like, me digging out on the tip floor for a couple hours, having my bins, which all of those I found out there, so that was kind of convenient. My first one, I just had the tarp and was like throwing it in piles. And then as I saw these bins, I was like, perfect, I'll just throw them in there and then use those to kind of weigh the different categories. But yeah, so you can see that perfectly clear there. And then here's the comparison, to highlight all of the things that we learned. You'll see Oshkosh and Menasha both were on a little bit of that higher end, with Algoma at 10.55%, Neenah at 11.45, and then Oshkosh and Menasha at about 13. So that it was a little bit higher than we wanted to see, considering our average at the MERC is 8 to 9. At the same time, it wasn't totally shocking. You guys, all the programs do a relatively good job with that quality. And so really just getting up that trash, and then that top category really is scrap metal. And so education primarily for those items of knowing that, you know, metal hangers, or I did find a car engine in one of the loads that we audited. So those kind of miscellaneous things where people know they can recycle metal, but just clarifying it's not a curbside item that we want to see. And then this year we also had our holiday string lights collection. So thank you to all of you guys for participating. It actually went really, really well this year. And we were excited to see 14 locations. So 12 of our municipalities ended up hosting collection spots for those. And we collected 996 pounds of Christmas lights that we were able to keep out of the MERC stream. So last year we had about 300 with 4 collection spots. And so we tripled the amount of locations and by default tripled the amount of collection. So that was really good to see, and really just want to keep those out of tangling up our MERC equipment and getting them recycled the right way. And so thank you guys for helping us run that program, and it really kicked off well. And so we'll continue making that awareness in our communities with that program going forward. City of Oshkosh did win with the most weight. With 220 pounds total. They had their city hall and their operations facility both had a spot, and the city hall was like wildly busy. I had to pick them up twice. So good for them. They're a big community too, so that doesn't surprise them. So to make it fair, town of Winchester did actually have the most weight per capita. They had a good drive in that smaller community as well. So thanks again for doing that with us, and we'll look forward to continuing that going forward. Our used cooking oil recovery program, we did announce this last year, right about this time. It was delivered May 5th of last year. So we're a year in, and the program is going overall really well. It is a service that's free to the public, free to local businesses too that have used that program. We've had fish fries, we've had school events come in, if they've had different things like that to use that program. So it is any clean cooking oil, any fry oil, whatever type they use, peanut oil, vegetable oil, olive oil. We just don't ask that there's no food or grease in it. So if it's chunky fish at the bottom of your home fish fry, hopefully people will filter that out and just bring the oil. And we've had pretty good luck with that until a couple weeks ago. We had one really gross load of a bunch of chunky stuff in there. But overall, we're really happy with it. It did get picked up already in August of last year. So just, 3 months after delivery, which it was about 2/3 full, so I got a little eager and I looked in and thought it was a lot more full than it was. It holds about 300 gallons, but 2/3 there, and then it was full again in November, and we pulled it before it got frozen over the winter. So we're on queue for probably another one in the next month or two. We're getting kind of full out there, and that's worked really awesome. So just a little bit more about that program. The reason we collect that is a free service to us, which is awesome, but it also gets turned into renewable biofuels right here within Wisconsin. So Blue Honey Biofuels delivers that container for us, and then they actually do have 3 processing areas across the state of Wisconsin. And so they may collect a little bit from eastern Minnesota and like northern Illinois area, but it is processed and kept right here locally. And so it's a more efficient alternative to just landfilling it. Obviously, we get to beneficially reuse something a second time for good purposes, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio. So, and 1 gallon of biofuel produced can replace 1 gallon of fossil fuel. So that burns cleaner, it results in fewer greenhouse gas emissions, excuse me. And so that's just really awesome. And then again, supporting the fuel locally and keeping fuel dollars in the Midwest. So great program. They've been really awesome to work with, and we've been happy to have that service for our municipalities. Or residents in our municipalities, I guess. Okay, so as you guys came in, you picked up this packet. Some of you, I emailed it to a few of the partners that we've been working with so far to get some feedback, and just kind of wanted to walk through this a little bit to see if you guys had some thoughts on it. We all can probably agree that any multifamily housing units in our areas are some of the most challenging areas to manage and also tend to see a lot of the contamination. And so we wanted to figure out a way that we could provide a resource, an easy resource for us to give to you and then to distribute at your convenience to landlords or apartment dwellers that you guys may interact with. So we put this together over the past few months and wanted to kind of get a little bit of feedback on, do you guys even want this resource? Would you use it? How would you use it? Thoughts on maybe, I know a couple people have said 6 pages might be a little bit long. There's some logic that went into the organization there, but given that feedback, if there's things that you guys don't think make sense in there or could be concise, condensed a little bit, I'm happy to hear just a few thoughts here. And I know you didn't get to look at it over too quickly, but as you're peeking through it, if anything comes to mind on this resource, and I'd appreciate any feedback.
Will you be using this project, as part of the DNR's recycling consolidation grant for 2022 or 2023?
2023, I believe it'll be the next cycle that we'll have that available, towards the end of the summer. So, coming into the next education cycle, that'll be something that we'll offer as an education component to you guys as well. But wanted to obviously get your feedback as the ones that are going to use it mostly as an education resource. If that would be helpful, and try and make that a good resource, going forward to address that population.
And, the town of Neenah puts out a quarterly newsletter, so when I picked this up, the first thought is, well, there's more than I can even put in a quarterly newsletter, right? I mean,
Sure.
it's all good information. I don't know how to get the education out to the resident. And that takes up a whole page. But at the same token, I'm thinking, well, I got 4 pages of my newsletter done for the year, right? One in each issue. So it would more be which ones do I select?
Okay.
You know, and then, I think I would also tend to put things like this on the website. You know, I don't know, I think a lot of this information is also what you're putting out on Facebook. I go in cycles, sometimes I share it a lot, and other times I don't even look at Facebook, so it really just depends on what I'm doing. So you know, I mean, even as you guys have been talking, I've been making notes, and a lot of it is, how do we get this education out to people? I didn't know, fast food companies were recyclable, so I'm one of your contaminating people.
But now we know.
Now I know.
And that's one of the most rewarding things. People comment like, oh man, I didn't know, but now
I
you
didn't know,
thanks for
yeah.
telling me. And so it is getting out there, albeit, yeah. I think the intention for this document was to be something that landlords would either email out to their residents annually or so forth, or like print as a newcomer packet. So I think I talked to you, you might not have very many.
We don't, but it's still applicable to every household as well.
Sure, yeah,
I
it
mean,
is, right?
It's not any different than what the residents need to do. You know, whether they're in a landlord situation or in their own home.
So maybe just potentially making it more of a generic version, and then that can be distributed to households or directly to those tenants anyway. That could work.
I like the idea of breaking it down into snippets that potentially could be a little bit of individual newsletters, but like a PDF ready. You know, breaking different components part of it and having those as resources available, maybe through our website that our communities could potentially click download, and then they could plug it in to fill space in their newsletters.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Very versatile, that you can print off one or print off a few depending on needs, to share with that. Yeah, I mean, it's, our tri-county guide just reorganized just a little bit, so that's, the same information that you'll be seeing obviously in other formats. But then trying to kind of hit some of those top tips, like on that back page is, you know, a lot of the things with apartments maybe is they don't realize like to have a bin in the kitchen, or, they bring it down in those plastic bags, and so kind of, sharing that messaging, but, potentially I could just make that a apartment top tips, one slide, one page thing, and then have our other resources available in different formats. So awesome. Well, yeah, you guys can obviously take those back, and if anyone else in your departments peruses that and has some feedback, or you guys think about it a little bit more, feel free to send me an email with some of those thoughts. I would appreciate it. So thank you for that. That is good feedback.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal is to get information to you that you can use. That's, you know, what our mark needs is to get this information out and to whatever's useful to you. So that's the message here, is what is going to be helping you get information out to the residents in the area.
Yeah, Nina, do you have any ideas on how you might use this information or what types of ways you would distribute it? Sorry, city of Nina, since.
That's okay. That's okay. Put it on there.
Getting into the larger apartment owners and stuff, I think would help a lot, and they even have websites now that their tenants go to pay their rent and stuff like that. It'd be great if they could post that on something like that. The problem is on a lot of them, like, I don't know who owns it or who the contact is, and stuff like that, which it may just be a little legwork to start with, and then, cause it is hard, if you get a complaint at one place, then you still gotta track that person down, so it would be nice to have somebody on file.
Do you know if your city, do you have your own assessor's office or would have maybe a database?
Yeah.
Okay. Or even a GIS, I don't know if you have a GIS department, but there may be some.
Send to Rockledge Lane, Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
and
just gotta like weasel it down to that person that you can actually talk to
yeah.
at the complex or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah, I was, going through the same thing with City of Vanasha, they're like, I don't know this, and I was like, okay, how can we help? And so I've been learning a little bit about that too, like what information is available. It surprised me, this is my bad, but I was like, oh, of course you guys know who are the apartments in your area, because, but you don't, and not everyone does, and so, yeah, that is definitely one area of like, maybe on your municipalities, if you do have, some contacts, even just getting it out where you guys, interact with those people. We want to make that an easy form to easily distribute it and not have to download a 6-page document and print it and all that kind of stuff. So we'll look at, the best way to get that information
I think
together.
about 10 years ago, we took flyers out to them that they could put up
Right. Mhm.
within the apartment, and stuff.
That keeps
Yeah.
changing though, you know.
Yeah.
Changing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
more and more is being recycled and, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, if you guys ever do wanna, address that on a different level too, then we have our tri-county guide or plenty of our Winnebago County brochures. If, you ever did a door-to-door, hand them off drop off a packet at the front doorstep of a complex office, then, let us know and we'd be happy to support some of those projects as well. Okay.
One thing just to add to keep in mind is, I realize a lot of these apartment complexes have commercial, accounts for waste and recycling, hauling, and, that's part of the struggle is most of that material likely comes through our system here and through our MRF, but not all of it. So we have to make sure that as far as the single stream recycling guidelines are, it has to be generic enough that it would apply to 90% of the state, then they may not be 100% our program, but we'll hit the target acceptance guidelines and make sure that just in case that material is taken down to Germantown or different processing facility, that they won't have any issues with that. And we ask the same of them too.
That's true.
It doesn't always work that way.
All right, and then last but not least, we've got some highlights on our tri-county initiatives, that these are things that are obviously across all of the Bow region, and so you'll see, things that are used in Green Bay and Appleton and so forth. And so our waste reserve, hopefully you guys are familiar with that at this point. Is anyone not familiar with our waste reserve? Well, Anne, have you come across our waste reserve?
I have
A little bit, okay, yeah, so this is a search engine we developed in the end of 2020, and it's basically a tri-county Google for all of the waste disposal outlets in our area. And so we wanted to make that easy in case someone has, some strange thing like tires. Okay, well, I don't know where to bring my tires, and so you can just Google that word, search phrase, and it'll pop up with all the municipal outlets and county outlets that support tire recycling or yard waste drop-offs or scrap metal drop-offs like that in our communities. And so it is tri-county specific. You'll see those outlets for Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago counties to offer all of those local solutions. And so this, I guess, 2022 is the second year of really utilizing and promoting that resource. And those searches did more than double from 2021. So in just through 2022, we had about 10,500 total material searches. And so that's a pretty significant, I think that's a good number. You never know what our goal is, I guess, with that. But doubling it from year to year, I think is also a pretty good thing. So people are using it. You'll see on this graph down here, that blue line is the total material search, and it does spike around that holiday time, November, December, when you're gonna see a lot more of those different food types of items or holiday decorations and people wanting to know what to do with that. And so we upload our information directly, so anything in there is our verified Tri-County rules. So we can be confident that this resource will help them know where to go. And that brings it, oh, sorry, that's fine. We've had over 20,000 total material deals since the launch of it, so that's good too. To go alongside with that, we've also launched the Better Bin app in September of last year. Again, trying to potentially reach a little bit of a different demographic of people who might not want to go on and Google search, but this is an app that you can download in any app store, and then it just scans the products right in front of you if you're wondering over the recycling bin or the trash bin, and you weren't sure, okay, just pull out your phone, do it a quick scan, and then you can know real time, again, those Tri-County verified recycling guidelines. So this does focus more on products and the recycling stream, whereas that waste wizard was very generic on all type of waste disposal outlets. Yeah, and then the more items you scan, you can earn points and cash them in for gift cards. So that's kind of fun way to try and incentivize people to use that app is know that you're recycling right and get that in there. In the bottom right corner there, you'll see kind of where we're at as far as total users. So the yellow line is total across Tri-County that are using that app with a 1774 in the first 6 months. And then Winnebago County is right at about a third of that with 582 users in our portal. So we're pretty happy to see that continuing to grow from month to month. And yeah, that's been an awesome resource. We've gotten good feedback from residents who like using it. And as Kathy mentioned, our upcoming number 2 contaminant is shredded paper. We did get that brand new glass cleanup system recently, and with some of the more refined screens that are part of that equipment, the shredded paper definitely clogs it up pretty bad. And so we've been working on ways to, again, we said kind of clean up some of those bugs to keep that as clean as possible, but a lot of that is still that shredded paper that's coming in. Some residential, but a lot of it we're still thinking is still coming in from more commercial business type sources. But this is the residual line off of the glass cleanup screen. So that pile right there is what's left over after the good glass has been trommeled out or sorted out. And you'll see it's primarily that shredded paper that ends up in that line. That's also going to be all of those small things. That's why we have size limits on what we accept. So small loose caps or plastic utensils and stuff are going to end up in this residual stream. So good news is we can pretty effectively sort it out and get that clean glass. But bad news is it is causing a headache at our MRF. So we want to continue pushing education on those fronts about the shredded paper. And so just our messaging has turned to highlighting the local alternatives that we have. When people are like, well, what do I do with it? And then they get frustrated. And so first of all, backyard composting is a perfectly viable option for that. If they have shredded paper and they want to do the right thing, they can throw it in their back leaf pile and it'll just compose over, over the season. But we also have a local shred events page listed on our What Do I Do With page on our website. And so I'll update that regularly. That's primarily through the summer. There wasn't much over that winter season, but now you'll see lots of banks and credit unions hosting shred events, sometimes even alongside electronics recycling events. And so we have that updated as well. It will get recycled if you bring it to that event because it's an isolated paper stream. They typically, I think, bring directly to a mill. So we can share those type of opportunities as an alternative. Locally, we also have Oshkosh Paper Salvage. It's a big kind of paper warehouse, and that's open 24/7 for residents to drop off shredded paper. And then Gulper Supply Company is a newer one in Appleton, very similar type of paper transfer area that can accept shredded paper during their business hours. But for those of you closer to Appleton, that could be another option for people to swing by and get that recycled in those outlets. One new thing too is City of Neenah does offer a residential shredded paper drop-off bin at their public works garage area. And so from what I've heard, that's gone really well. They've just had a couple bins set by their other disposal outlets, and then they are able to mix that in with their yard waste as they're processing that. And so that helps their residents feel like they can do something productive with it. And that's been, from what I hear, really awesome. And then last on our list is our master recycler course that is hot off the press. We had our first course on March 31st at Copper Rock. So this is a tri-county initiative working across the area to try and launch a program, finding out who can help us become advocates in our local area. And so this was the first one of the series, piloting just what that looks like to run a 1-hour course. And that will rotate across our community. So we started in Appleton, likely we're thinking about doing it somewhere in Winnebago County this summer, and then up to Brown County and rotating it through the area. But primarily we're just starting to gauge if community members are interested in becoming those volunteers. So when you guys are having maybe public events or like need a green team to help do a waste audit at a business or whatever the case may be, hoping to kind of create a list of people in our community that are willing to, be the waste team at events, or if there's a school event and they want to bring someone in, then these can be like certified tri-county recycling advocates. And so we're just in the very beginning parts of launching that and seeing how that's going to roll out down the steps. But we did have 21 attendees of that first class, and it seemed to be pretty well received. There were a handful of people that let us know that they'd be interested in taking those next steps when we're ready for the getting that certified master recycler type tag. So stay tuned for the next time we run that locally, and we're excited for that program to launch as well.
And we're really hoping that'll help the community though as well. When you need somebody to do card checks, or you need somebody to be at the farmer's market to help support message within your own community. We have limited staffing. Brown and Outagamie County have limited staffing, but if we can get a team of certified volunteers who will come out and represent what we know is our message, then we can send them your way and hopefully help relieve the burden on your staffing as well.
So any other questions for me or us on the kind of recycling outreach side of stuff we've got going on? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for the time and for coming.
Yeah, Better Bin, do you have a short thing that we could include with our Facebook page on that?
Yeah, sure. We've sent a few to,
Send that over to Lisa. I don't know if she's seen it or if you.
sure, yeah, a
I
little,
hadn't seen that yet.
okay.
Who's Winnebago calling out?
Thank you.
Can we send that to Wayne County too, or the website?
Do you get any information on that Better Bin if people are receiving gift cards, using it enough to, be awarded a gift card? Is that an incentive for people? Are we finding that?
I'm not entirely sure yet. I think we're going to plan to meet once we hit that kind of first year of the program and review success of how that went. So I haven't heard any feedback yet, but I know it does take a little while. I think my screenshot was I was at like 2,100 points, and I think 10,000 is the first level of gift card. So like there's a little bit of a significant thing, but we're hoping that you can scan it regularly to try and once you get motivated, like I got to get to that 10,000. So we'll learn more information once we kind of review that first year of the program.
And that product developer too has been very responsive for our questions and our needs. So that's certainly the question of can pull it or she would be able to generate a list or a response to us fairly quickly.
I was just curious if that
Yeah.
was incentivizing people or not. 'Cause
That was
it
her
seemed
thought,
like a
yeah.
high threshold.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought so too, but so we'll see if that's been incentive enough to keep people active.
Mhm.
Curious about that as well. Well, if you guys don't have any other feedback or thoughts for us, feel free to grab some snacks on your way out. But I believe that's all that we have for you today.
That's what you want.